You won't believe what just happened on the AGT stage. A young Filipino teen stepped up, microphone in hand, and completely stunned the judges with a voice that could only be described as pure gold. Simon Cowell, Howie Mandel, and Sofia Vergara were left speechless as his Elvis-inspired performance sent shivers down everyone's spine. The audience erupted into cheers, some in tears, some in total disbelief. This isn't just talent, it's history in the making. Watch, feel every note, and witness the moment that left everyone in awe. Don't forget to subscribe to Kindness Diaries for more unbelievable performances. The theater buzzed with anticipation, a mixture of excitement and curiosity weaving through the audience, like electricity in the air. Every seat was filled. Every eye glued toward the massive stage at the front, where countless performers had already amazed, shocked, or even disappointed over the years. Behind the curtains, the Filipino Elvis stood still for a moment, letting the energy of the room seep into him. He was just a teen, but his presence carried something far beyond his years, a quiet intensity, a humble confidence, and the kind of aura that could command a room without a single word. Dressed in a subtly Elvis-inspired outfit, his jacket catching the glimmer of the stage lights, and his hair neatly styled, he exuded both respect for the legendary icon he emulated, and his own unique individuality. He gripped the microphone, feeling the familiar cool metal under his fingers, a tactile reminder of the countless hours of practice that had brought him here. The camera followed him closely, capturing every minute detail, the slight tremble in his hands, the deep inhale that filled his lungs, and the calm yet determined look in his eyes. His heartbeat seemed almost audible, a steady drum beneath the symphony of murmurs and shuffling chairs. The judges watched him with polite curiosity, Simon Cowell's trademark eyebrow raised, his eyes narrowing with a mix of skepticism and intrigue. How many performers had walked this same path before? How many had promised something extraordinary only to deliver mediocrity? But even in Simon's guarded expression, there was a flicker of interest, a subconscious acknowledgement that this teen might be different. The other judges mirrored this cautious optimism in varying ways. Sofia Vergara leaned forward slightly, her hands clasped loosely, a smile playing on her lips as she tried to anticipate what was about to unfold, while Howie Mandel's eyes sparkled with the anticipation of witnessing a performance that could defy expectation. The Filipino Elvis took a small step forward, the wooden stage creaking softly beneath his weight. The audience seemed to collectively hold its breath, leaning forward in their seats, whispering and glancing at one another. Some lifted their phones, eager to capture the moment, unaware that cameras were already rolling from multiple angles, immortalizing the first moments of a performance that could very well be historic. His lips curled into a small, nervous smile as he acknowledged the crowd, his eyes briefly scanning faces of strangers who would soon become witnesses to his talent. There was a quiet determination in that glance, a silent message that no matter the outcome, he had poured everything into this moment. He adjusted the microphone stand, his fingers brushing lightly against the metal, centering it perfectly. The stage lights softened, bathing him in a golden glow that made him look almost ethereal, as if he were stepping not just onto a stage, but into a dream where reality and performance intertwined. The orchestra softly cued the beginning of the music, a gentle instrumental introduction that seemed to hang in the air like a whisper of promise. Every sound, every movement, every flicker of light contributed to the growing anticipation. The crowd was silent now, the chatter fading, replaced by the collective focus of hundreds of eyes, all fixated on the young performer who had just crossed into their line of vision. The teen closed his eyes briefly, drawing in a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment press gently against his chest. Memories of practice sessions flooded his mind. The long evenings spent mimicking Elvis inflections, perfecting the vibrato, studying every subtle nuance of stage presence. The sacrifices, the small victories, the endless hours of refining his voice until it resonated like liquid gold, all culminated in this very second. The energy of the room, the hum of expectation, the faint scent of stage polish and excitement, all seemed to merge into one singular force propelling him forward. He opened his eyes, scanning the audience one final time, and the camera captured a close-up that seemed almost reverential. There was a spark there, something intangible yet undeniable, a combination of humility, focus, and raw potential. He nodded subtly to himself, a silent affirmation that he was ready. The judges, still observing with measured anticipation, exchanged fleeting glances. Simon's eyebrow twitched slightly, the faintest hint of recognition crossing his face, as though he sensed that this performance might shatter expectations. With a small, steady step forward, he approached the center of the stage. Every movement felt deliberate, every gesture carefully composed, yet natural. He positioned himself, lifted the microphone to his lips, and paused, letting the silence stretch for just a heartbeat longer. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then with a quiet inhale he opened his mouth, and the first note escaped, a sound so pure, so rich and so resonant, that it immediately drew gasps from a few audience members. Even the judges leaned forward, instinctively drawn in by the warmth, clarity, and emotional depth of the tone. That single note, unaccompanied yet commanding, set the stage for what was about to unfold, a performance that promised not just skill, but heart, soul and a touch of magic. The camera lingered on his face as he began to sing, capturing the subtle movements of his lips, the expressive arch of his eyebrows, the delicate tension in his hands. Each element told a story, the story of a young Filipino teen with dreams bigger than the stage he stood on, the story of countless hours of dedication, the story of a moment where nervous anticipation transformed into breathtaking artistry. The lights danced softly around him, the audience's eyes were fixed, and the judges were silent, collectively suspended in the delicate balance between disbelief and admiration. It was the calm before the storm, the opening act of a performance that would not only captivate the audience, but leave an indelible mark on everyone watching. If you want, I can now expand Scene 2 in the same 900-word cinematic style, where his golden voice actually hits and stuns the judges and audience. That part is the real emotional climax. The first note resonated through the theater like a beam of pure light, instantly commanding the attention of everyone present. It was more than just a sound, it was a declaration, a proclamation of talent, heart, and soul, all woven into a single golden tone. The Filipino Elvis stood at the center of the stage, eyes closed, completely lost in the music. His posture was confident, yet relaxed, his hands gripping the microphone with the kind of precision that comes only from years of dedication. The opening note seemed to hang in the air, vibrating with warmth, clarity, and an almost tangible emotion that reached every corner of the auditorium. The audience was spellbound, whispers of disbelief and awe rippled through the crowd, fading quickly as each person became engrossed in the richness of his voice. Some clutched the edges of their seats, as though physically holding themselves to keep from being swept away by the sheer power of the performance. Others lifted their phones, hands shaking slightly, to capture the moment, knowing instinctively that what they were witnessing was extraordinary. The camera moved in slow, deliberate shots, catching close-ups of wide eyes, dropped jaws, and hands pressed to faces in astonishment. Every frame emphasized the almost magical impact of his voice, as though the theater itself had been transformed into a cathedral of sound. On the judges' panel, Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair, momentarily speechless. His usual expression of calculated evaluation had been replaced by pure amazement. The faint furrow of his brow suggested disbelief, yet there was also a glimmer of admiration, an acknowledgement that this performance was beyond any conventional expectation. Howie Mandel, seated beside him, leaned forward, gripping the edge of the table, eyes shining with excitement, a rare unguarded reaction from a man who had seen countless performers over the years. Sofia Vergara had both hands covering her mouth, unable to suppress the gasp that had escaped, her eyes glistening as the emotion of the music washed over her. For once, the judge's characteristic composure had given way to pure visceral reaction, the universal language of awe and appreciation. The Filipino Elvis continued, his voice flowing effortlessly through each note. There was a vibrato, smooth yet deliberate, that gave every word depth and resonance. Each lyric seemed imbued with a life of its own, carrying emotion, story, and vulnerability. He sang not just with technique, but with soul, connecting with the audience in a way that was immediate and profound. The orchestral accompaniment swelled, perfectly complementing his golden voice, yet never overpowering it. The sound bounced off the walls, filling the room with richness that made every note feel monumental. Every corner of the theater seemed alive with the music, from the hushed whispers of awe at the back to the front row, where some viewers were already wiping tears from their eyes. The teen's performance was not just about technical perfection, it was about storytelling through sound. His expressions, slight gestures and posture enhanced the impact of each phrase. A subtle tilt of the head here, a gentle sway of the body there, mirrored the emotional peaks and valleys of the song. He was fully immersed, yet completely aware of the audience, creating an intimate connection that transcended the barriers of stage and screen. Each high note soared with effortless clarity, each low note grounded the performance with heartfelt authenticity. The judges watched, captivated, as if unable to look away, their eyes glued to this young performer who had taken a simple stage and turned it into a realm of awe. The audience's reaction grew louder with each passing moment. Hands clapped, feet tapped, and a few viewers audibly sobbed, overcome with emotion. There was a collective inhalation every time he hit a particularly soaring note, a silence immediately following as the sound hung in the air, shimmering like sunlight across water. The Filipino Elvis seemed to feed off this energy, his own confidence and joy growing as he saw the visible impact of his talent on everyone around him. He smiled subtly, eyes still closed, letting the music carry him while the audience became a living, breathing part of the performance. As the song reached its bridge, the intensity increased, the orchestral instruments swelled, the stage lights pulsed softly, and the camera captured every nuanced reaction, from the audience members holding their breath to Simon Cowell's hand inching toward his chin in disbelief. The teen's voice climbed effortlessly, maintaining perfect pitch while conveying deep emotion. Each note seemed to transcend the ordinary, striking a chord deep within the hearts of all who listened. The judges' eyes widened, their usual professional detachment completely replaced by astonishment and admiration. Even seasoned viewers and staff members behind the scenes paused to watch, knowing instinctively that history was unfolding before them. When he reached the climax of the song, the room seemed to hold its collective breath. His golden voice echoed across the stage, filling every corner of the theater, yet somehow intimate enough that it felt like he was singing directly to each individual. The judges were motionless, mouths slightly open, stunned into silence. Simon Cowell's signature stoicism had been replaced by awe. Howie's eyes shone with uncontained excitement. Sophia's hands shook slightly as tears traced her cheeks. The Filipino Elvis's final note lingered, suspended in the air, shimmering with clarity and emotion, before slowly fading into a silence so profound it felt sacred. For a brief moment, the theater was still. Then, the audience erupted into applause, cheers and whistles, some jumping to their feet while others remained seated, stunned into disbelief. The judges remained seated, processing what they had just witnessed, their expressions a mixture of amazement, joy, and respect. Simon Cowell finally broke the silence, clapping slowly, muttering, "I've never heard anything like that in my life." The Filipino Elvis opened his eyes, slightly humbled but smiling, aware that he had just delivered a performance that would be remembered forever. The camera lingered on him, bathed in the soft glow of the stage lights, capturing the moment of triumph, connection, and undeniable talent. The final note lingered in the theater like a golden thread suspended in time, reverberating softly through the air long after the Filipino Elvis had released it. For a heartbeat, the room was silent, as if the entire audience, judges and crew were collectively holding their breath, savoring the lingering resonance of a voice so extraordinary it felt almost unreal. The teen stood in the center of the stage, microphone still in hand, chest rising and falling with a mix of adrenaline and relief. His eyes widened slightly as he absorbed the moment, the magnitude of what had just happened slowly dawning on him. He had given everything, every ounce of practice, every sleepless night, every ounce of emotion he had stored within himself, and now it was laid bare before the world. Then, as if a switch had been flipped, the theater erupted. The audience leapt to their feet in a deafening standing ovation. Hands clapped, fists pumped, some viewers whistled and cheered uncontrollably, while others wiped tears from their eyes. The applause was overwhelming, a tidal wave of appreciation and amazement, reverberating through every corner of the venue. Phones and cameras captured the spectacle from every angle, glowing screens illuminating the faces of people completely captivated by the performance they had just witnessed. The Filipino Elvis looked around, slightly stunned, taking in the magnitude of the audience's response. A small, humble smile spread across his face, a mixture of pride, disbelief and gratitude. The camera shifted to the judges' panel, capturing every raw, unfiltered reaction. Simon Cowell, the man known for his critical eye and rarely impressed demeanor, slowly rose to his feet. His eyes were wide, his jaw slightly dropped, and he clapped with a deliberate, almost reverent precision, as though he were applauding a masterpiece he had just encountered for the first time. "I've never heard anything like that in my life," he muttered, his voice tinged with awe and disbelief. Howie Mandel jumped up, pumping his fists with an enthusiasm that bordered on childlike excitement. His eyes sparkled as he shouted encouragement, unable to contain his exhilaration. Sofia Vergara, still visibly moved, wiped tears from her cheeks while laughing and clapping simultaneously, caught up in the emotional whirlwind of the performance. For once, the judges' usual composed facades had been completely replaced by genuine heartfelt reactions, a testament to the power of the performance. The Filipino Elvis bowed slightly, acknowledging both the audience and the judges. His humility in the midst of such overwhelming praise only amplified the emotional impact of the moment. The crowd continued to cheer, some stamping their feet, some waving their hands in the air, all united in their astonishment and admiration. The energy in the theater was electric, palpable, a mixture of joy, pride and awe that seemed to suspend reality for a brief glorious moment. Every camera angle captured the phenomenon. The ecstatic audience, the stunned judges, and the teen at the center of it all, a young performer transformed into a symbol of pure talent and dedication. Confetti cannons exploded, showering the stage in sparkling streams of gold and silver, adding a visual crescendo to the auditory and emotional climax. The lights shifted, bathing the Filipino Elvis in a warm glow that made him appear almost ethereal. He held the microphone close, his slight smile reflecting both gratitude and humility. Behind the scenes, crew members exchanged amazed glances, whispering to each other that this was a performance they would never forget. The cameramen captured every moment, some struggling to hold steady in the face of the overwhelming scene, knowing that what they were filming would likely become iconic footage in AGT history. The audience's energy seemed to envelop him, each cheer and clap a tangible wave that reinforced the power of his voice and the sincerity of his performance. People were crying, laughing, and cheering all at once, their emotions raw and unfiltered. Children on the edge of their seats mimicked his gestures, teenagers whispered to each other in awe, and older viewers were caught between disbelief and joy. The teen's eyes scanned the room, connecting with as many faces as he could, understanding that his performance had created a shared unifying moment of wonder. The judges approached the Filipino Elvis individually, their words flowing freely now that the spell of awe had been broken. Simon Cowell, still visibly shaken, extended a hand in congratulations, shaking his head in disbelief. "I've judged hundreds of acts, but what you just did, that's something else entirely," he said, his voice filled with genuine admiration. Howie Mandel clapped him on the back enthusiastically, shouting, "You blew us all away, incredible!" Sofia Vergara smiled warmly, adding, "You have such a gift. I'm crying, and I'm so happy I got to witness this." Each judge's reaction was a perfect reflection of the emotional journey the audience had just experienced. The Filipino Elvis thanked the judges and audience with a soft, heartfelt thank you, his voice still carrying the residual warmth of the performance. He bowed once more, a gesture of respect and humility, while the audience continued to cheer, the noise rising to a level that felt almost tangible. The camera captured slow-motion shots of the confetti falling around him, the crowd on their feet, and the judges smiling and clapping in unison. Every element, the lights, the sounds, the reactions, aligned perfectly to create a cinematic, almost magical conclusion to a performance that had transcended mere talent. As the applause slowly subsided, the Filipino Elvis stood in the center of the stage, basking in the final glow of the lights and the lingering energy of the audience. He had done more than perform. He had connected, inspired, and left an indelible mark on everyone who had witnessed him. The camera captured one final lingering shot, the teen in the spotlight, golden confetti drifting around him, the crowd's faces blurred in admiration, and the judges looking on with expressions that combined respect, astonishment, and joy. In that moment, the performance became timeless, a perfect convergence of talent, emotion, and human connection that would be remembered far beyond the walls of the theater.